Brittney Griner appeared to call Caitlin Clark trash and effing white girl.
The fallout was instant.
That was the media firestorm that consumed the WNBA. A star player, a viral video, and an accusation that sent shockwaves through the entire sports world. For days, the internet ran wild with a simple, explosive story that after this incident, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver had stepped in and done the unthinkable. He had fired Brittney Griner. But what if I told you that story, the one that generated millions of clicks and fueled endless outrage, was a complete and total lie? Today, we're not here to chase the ghosts of a fake headline. We are here to uncover the much more dangerous and complicated truth that this lie was created to hide. This isn't a story about a player who got fired. This is a story about a commissioner who went silent, a league that was paralyzed, and how the biggest star in the sport, Caitlin Clark, delivered her verdict on that failure without ever having to say the commissioner's name. We're going to connect the dots between this incident and the full-blown leadership crisis happening at the very top of the WNBA, and expose why the league's decision to do nothing was the most revealing move of all. We are a community of narrative analysts here, dedicated to filtering out the noise to find the real story. If you believe in that mission, do me a favor and hit that like button right now. It tells us we're on the right track and fuels our next investigation. All right, let's get into it. Before we can understand the truth, we have to bury the lie. The narrative presented by other channels was built on a foundation of pure fiction. They told you Adam Silver made the call himself, that Griner was out, and that justice had been served from the NBA's throne. It was a dramatic arc satisfying story. It was also completely fabricated. Multiple independent mainstream fact-checking organizations, from Snopes to Reuters, have thoroughly investigated these claims. Their conclusion is unanimous and undisputed. Brittney Griner was not fired, banned, suspended, or disciplined in any way by Adam Silver or the NBA for this incident. Let's be perfectly clear, the central premise of the video that went viral was fake. It was a calculated piece of misinformation designed to provoke an emotional reaction. And for us, as narrative analysts, that's where the real story begins. Because when you see a lie that big being pushed that hard, your first question shouldn't be about the lie itself, but about what truth it's trying to distract you from. The manufactured story of a decisive NBA commissioner stepping in was created to cover for the real story of a WNBA commissioner who did absolutely nothing. So let's establish the facts of what really happened, because the details are crucial. The date was May 22nd, 2025. In a game between the Atlanta Dream and the Indiana Fever, Brittney Griner was ejected from the game after a foul call involving Caitlin Clark. As she walked off the court, visibly furious, cameras caught her shouting from the bench. Within hours, clips went viral, amplified by social media personalities, with the explosive claim that she had called Clark a trash F-wing white girl. Now, in the chaotic world of online lip-reading, interpretations varied, and no definitive proof was ever established. But the accusation itself was enough. The clip became a weapon, and the court of public opinion delivered its verdict instantly. The pressure on the WNBA league office was immense. Fans, commentators, and critics all turned their eyes to Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, waiting for a response. And what they got was silence. There was no suspension, no fine, no official statement addressing the specific incident between Griner and Clark. While the league did eventually issue a broad, generalized statement condemning racism and threats against all players, a statement Griner herself said was way overdue. It carefully and deliberately avoided the single biggest controversy of the season. They created a narrative vacuum. And that vacuum is where this story truly lives. Because Engelbert's silence wasn't a mistake or an oversight. To understand it, you have to understand that this incident didn't happen in a stable, healthy league. It was a match thrown into a powder keg of a pre-existing leadership crisis that had been brewing for months. For all the new fans Caitlin Clark has brought to the WNBA, the view from inside the league has been far from perfect. According to multiple reports, Commissioner Engelbert has been facing significant and growing criticism from the league's own players regarding her leadership. There's a palpable tension, a feeling among many veterans that they are undervalued and underappreciated by the very league they built. The situation has become so strained that, according to some sources, there are active rumors that Engelbert may be replaced as commissioner. This is the critical context. Cathy Engelbert was not a popular, secure leader making a decision from a position of strength. She was a commissioner under siege, trying to navigate a PR crisis in the middle of a quiet rebellion from her own players. So what do you think? Was her silence a sign that she was paralyzed by the pressure, or was it a calculated gamble to try and ride out the storm? Let me know your theory in the comments. This fragile situation is the story behind the story, and it's the exact context you need to understand the true significance of what happened next. Because while the commissioner's office chose silence, the biggest star in the league chose her words very, very carefully. In the aftermath of the controversy, Caitlin Clark was speaking about the state of the league, this incredible, explosive new era of growth that she herself had created. And she made a statement that, for any narrative analyst watching, was impossible to misinterpret. She said, quote, "We need strong leadership at this time across all levels. This is the most important time in this league's history. Let's break that down." She didn't have to name Cathy Engelbert. She didn't have to reference the Griner incident. She didn't have to do anything but state the obvious in a way that was both undeniably true and surgically precise. At the exact moment, the entire WNBA world was questioning the commissioner's leadership. The league's most powerful player made a public call for it. It was a masterclass in modern media communication. It was a statement of fact that doubled as an act of defiance. It was, in effect, a public performance review of her boss, delivered on a national stage. And we have to be clear about who is delivering this message. This isn't just any player. This is the league's economic engine. This is the cultural phenomenon who is single-handedly rewriting the future of the sport. When a player with that level of influence and importance speaks, her words carry a different weight. A call for strong leadership from a rookie might be a hopeful plea. A call for strong leadership from the face of the league at the height of a leadership crisis is a demand. It's a challenge. By highlighting the need for strong leadership, she was implicitly highlighting its current absence. And this is why the title of this video is Caitlin Clark Calls Out the Commissioner. She didn't do it by shouting into a microphone or posting an angry tweet. She did it by calmly and professionally laying down a new standard of standards she knew the current leadership had just failed to meet. She exposed the vacuum at the top of the WNBA by simply describing what should be there. Clark had drawn her line in the sand, and it forces us, as analysts, to go back and examine the commissioner's decision to stay silent through that lens. So let's explore the two competing theories for what was happening behind the scenes in the league office. Was this a catastrophic failure of Griner, or was it a calculated strategy that simply blew up in her face? Theory 1 is the simplest weakness. In this version, Commissioner Engelbert was simply paralyzed by the politics of the situation. Disciplining Brittney Griner is not like disciplining any other player. Griner is a figure who carries immense political and social weight, from her detention in Russia to her history as an outspoken advocate. Taking action against her, especially based on a viral video of debatable quality, Mars, would have invited a storm of criticism from a completely different direction. Faced with a choice between two potential firestorms, Engelbert chose the path of least resistance to do nothing and hope it all went away. But there's a second, more complex theory. Theory 2 strategy. In this version, Engelbert and her team saw the controversy for exactly what it was, a product of the social media outrage machine, fueled by the same kinds of misinformation campaigns the league has been battling all year. They knew the clip was ambiguous, they knew who was pushing the narrative, and they made a calculated decision not to give a manufactured controversy the legitimacy of an official league response. Their strategy was to starve the fire of oxygen. The problem is, that strategy is from a different era. In the modern media landscape, silence is rarely interpreted as strength. It's seen as weakness, evasion, or guilt. The narrative vacuum they created wasn't filled with reason. It was filled with rage, and that rage was directed at the perceived double standard.
Griner, who I can't stand, sad that she's a Baylor grad.
Yeah,
she called her a trash expletive white girl. That was the lip reading. Yes, trash white girl. Trash blanking white girl is what she said.
That sentiment is precisely why the strategy failed. By trying to avoid one political minefield, Engelbert walked directly into another, and her position was made even more impossible by Griner's own public statement on the matter. When asked about it, Griner said, quote, "I remember fouling out, being mad. I really can't remember what I said, honestly. I know it wasn't that because I wouldn't use that type of language. This is a public relations nightmare. It's a non-denial denial. It gave Engelbert absolutely nothing to work with. How can you discipline a player for something they claim they can't remember saying, while only denying the worst possible interpretation? Any action the league took would have been built on a foundation of pure speculation, opening them up to grievances and appeals. Engelbert was trapped. And that paralysis, that indecision, is what ultimately destroyed her credibility. It wasn't just this one incident. For players and dedicated fans, it was the most visible example of a problem that had been festering all season, a pattern of inconsistent officiating, and a perceived lack of protection for players. The league has been plagued by questions about its on-court management, a situation so dire that Commissioner Engelbert had to announce the formation of a special task force just to address officiating concerns. The failure to act on the Griner situation wasn't a blip on the radar. It was confirmation of the very leadership issues players had been complaining about for months. It reinforced the narrative that the league office was reactive, not proactive, and that it had no clear standard for discipline. And this is where the stakes become astronomical, because this entire crisis is unfolding just as the clock is ticking down on the league's collective bargaining agreement, which is set to expire on October 31st, 2025. Cathy Engelbert is now walking into the most important negotiation of her career from a position of profound weakness, having lost the trust of her players and the confidence of the fans. Her failure to handle this one incident has jeopardized the entire future of the league's labor relationship. The viral story about Brittney Griner being fired was a lie, but it inadvertently revealed a much more alarming truth. The WNBA is suffering from a massive leadership vacuum, and Commissioner Cathy Engelbert's calculated silence on the biggest controversy of the season was the moment that vacuum was exposed to the world. Her attempt to strategically navigate a PR minefield, whether out of weakness or a flawed plan, backfired completely. It projected paralysis, infuriated a fan base demanding consistency, and ultimately gave the league's biggest star the opening to challenge her authority. In the end, the commissioner's silence didn't make the story go away. It became the story. So what's your take on all this? We want to know your final verdict in the comments. Was Engelbert's silence a sign of unforgivable weakness, or was it a failed strategy in an impossible situation? Let us know what you think. And if you believe the real story is always deeper than the headline, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. We are tracking the fallout from this and the upcoming CBA negotiations, and you'll be the first to know what we uncover. Finally, if you know another fan who got caught up in the fake narrative, share this video with them. Every narrative analyst deserves to know the real story.